Every day, thousands of people go online to share something they can't explain. A presence in an empty house, a voice that shouldn't have been there, a night they still think about years later. Today we will see 3 of those stories. Real accounts, shared by real people, about the moments that made them stop and wonder what's actually out there. This first story comes from a woman who worked as a 911 dispatcher for 6 years before she quit.
Most nights on the job were routine. Car accidents, domestic calls, the occasional prank caller. But there's one call I took that made me put in my 2 weeks' notice a month later. It came in around 4 a.m. A child's voice, maybe 6 or 7 years old, whispering. She said, "There's a man standing outside my window. He's been there since it got dark. Please don't let him know I called." I asked for her address. She gave it to me, quiet and steady, like she'd rehearsed it. I dispatched a unit immediately and stayed on the line, doing what we're trained to do. Keep them calm, keep them talking. I asked her if her parents were home. She said, "They're sleeping." I don't want to wake them because he told me not to. That's when the hair on my arm stood up, because she hadn't mentioned him speaking to her before. I asked what he'd said. She whispered, "He said if I make a sound, he'll come inside instead of just watching." I kept her on the line for 11 minutes while the unit was in transit. Then, about 90 seconds before they arrived, her breathing changed. Faster, panicked, and she said, very fast and very quiet, "He's not outside anymore." The line went dead. The officers arrived 4 minutes later. There was no child living at that address. There was no child living at that address. Full stop. The house had been empty for over a year. Foreclosed, no utilities connected. No power, no working phone line. They checked the property from the road and confirmed it themselves before even stepping inside. I still have the call logged in my old shift notes, timestamp and everything, because for weeks I convinced myself I must have misheard the address. I called it up twice more, just to be sure. Both times, dispatch confirmed the same empty, condemned house. I never found out who that little girl was, or what picked up a disconnected phone line long enough to whisper 11 minutes worth of words to me before it stopped.
This next story comes from a father, describing something that happened in his daughter's first year.
My wife and I had just had our first kid. Like every exhausted new parent, we lived and died by the baby monitor. Cheap little thing, video and audio, sat on the dresser across from the crib. Nothing fancy. About 2 months in, I woke up around 2 a.m. to the monitor crackling on the nightstand. Not unusual, it picked up static from the microwave sometimes. I almost ignored it, but then, under the static, I heard humming. A slow, simple little tune, like someone rocking a baby to sleep. My wife was right next to me, dead asleep. I checked. She hadn't moved all night. I got up, heart absolutely pounding, and walked to the nursery. The second I opened the door, the humming stopped completely. My daughter was fast asleep in her crib. Totally fine, totally calm. Actually, the calmest I'd seen her sleep in weeks. I stood there for probably 10 minutes, just watching her, feeling like an idiot, but unable to make myself leave the room. I told my wife the next morning, expecting her to tell me I'd dreamed it. Instead, she went pale and told me our daughter had been unusually fussy and hard to settle every single night that week. except that one. The one night I heard the humming was the one night she slept straight through until morning. We never heard it again after that. I still don't know what to make of it. Part of me wants to believe it was some outside radio interference bleeding into the monitor's frequency. But another part of me, the part that watched my daughter sleep peacefully that night, right after that humming stopped, doesn't really want an explanation at all.
This last story comes from a man describing something that happened during a family trip to a rented cabin when he was 14.
We used to rent the same cabin every summer, way out past cell signal, deep in the woods. My dad, my mom, my younger sister, and me. That summer was the last time we ever went back. About 3 nights in, I woke up around 2 a.m. to voices downstairs. Quiet, casual, like people having a normal conversation over coffee. I figured my parents were up early, so I went down to see. The kitchen was empty. Living room, empty. Every light was off except the porch light outside, which nobody had turned on before bed. I went back upstairs, told myself I'd dreamed it, and went back to sleep. The next morning, my dad asked me, half joking, if I'd been up wandering around in the middle of the night. I said no. He said he'd heard footsteps on the stairs around 2 a.m., and when he checked, my door was standing wide open, even though I distinctly remembered closing it. That night, my sister, who was 9, asked my mom at dinner why there was another family staying in the cabin with us. My mom told her there wasn't, that it was just us. My sister insisted. She said she'd seen them the night before, through her bedroom window, standing at the tree line at the edge of the yard. A mom, a dad, and a boy about my age. She said they were just standing there in the dark, watching the cabin, not moving. She said the boy waved at her, and she almost waved back before something made her feel like she really shouldn't. My parents laughed it off as a bad dream. I might have believed that too, except 3 nights later I woke up again. This time to someone standing at the foot of my bed. Not my dad, not my sister. A boy, roughly my height, roughly my build, just standing there in the dark. Completely silent, watching me. The exact same way I imagine I'd been watched from those trees. I didn't move. I didn't make a sound. I just watched him back until the sky outside started to get gray with early morning light. And at some point in that gray light, without ever having moved a single step, he simply wasn't there anymore. We left 2 days early that year. I never told my parents why. I never went looking for who owned that cabin before us, or who might have lived at the edge of those woods. Some part of me has never wanted to know the answer badly enough to actually ask.
Three different people, 3 different situations, all left with the same feeling, that something happened they still can't explain, years later. If one of these gave you chills, let me know which one in the comments. And if you've got your own story, share it below. Maybe it'll end up in a future video. And subscribe for more real encounters.